Welcome to Jablam Hockey, folks. I'm your host, Peter Bridgeranov, and I am with
Connor Roundtree.
And you can follow us on Twitter at our accounts, of course, here, and at Jablam Hockey. And remember, please, if you're tweeting us, hashtag Jablam, hashtag JHockey, or hashtag Jablam Hockey.
Boom.
And of course, we've had polls on there. We will tell you a little bit about the polls when we get to our segments. What we are talking about today. Number one, Team Isoing Buffalo Sabres with our guest Chad, and he'll tell you his last name. Of course, we have our main thing, which is our NHL season predictions of the Eastern Conference. And of course, our first friendly bet of the season and our Saturday picks. But first, trending now. What do we have for trending now, Connor?
Let's get you all caught up. And I'm going to start us off out in Calgary. Jaromir Jagr has signed a one-year deal worth $1 million with an extra $1 million in bonus incentives. So, I mean, that's always a good thing, a big veteran presence. Matthew Tkachuk, is stoked about it. He says he wants to play with Jagr and can't wait to learn under him. And if you check this out right here, this little logo, this was created by a fan. Look at the Calgary Flame with the mullet. Peter, that is cool.
It's crazy because a lot of people were talking about it. I can't remember who referenced it, but people said that the Calgary Flames logo, if any of the logos represent Jagr the most, it's the Flames. It already looks like it has a mullet, and this person who drew up this logo added a little extra mullet effect to the Jagr.
It's absolutely amazing. I love Jaromir Jagr. I think he's going to do great things in Calgary this season.
It's crazy. He is 56 games away from tying Gordie Howe first all-time in games played in the NHL. It's just crazy, especially added to the fact that he played 3 years in the KHL.
And not only that, fans are going nuts about him. We put up a Twitter poll on my Twitter last night, actually, and over 77% of you think that Jagr's going to score over 30 points this year on the Flames, and he's not going to be playing up on the top two lines. He's going to be down there in the goal scoring on the power play and the depth role in that fast Western Conference. So that's a lot of confidence for the old man.
Yeah, well, you know what? He's still producing. I feel that Jagr is still a great player, but when I always pick, like I screwed up and picked with the Panthers the year before, and he didn't step up in the playoffs. And so I think he'll still be fine for them during the season. In the playoffs, it might be a tougher grind. But again, if he's more of a depth role, third line, it might fit better for the Flames.
Most likely.
All right. Again, you can check out a lot of the things we're talking about in our trending now as well later in our episode on jablamhockey.com. And another thing we want to talk about is, boom, I had to say it. It happened. Eichel signs an 8-year, $10 million contract. Of course, it hits, I believe, next year. It's huge news. We will be talking again with Chad in the Team ISO a little bit more about the contract. But it's good for the Sabres. He's a great player. Hasn't, I think, still been able to show what he can do with a few of the injuries. But it hurts me even more because what are the Leafs going to do if Eichel's getting $10 million right there, my boy?
What's he going to get?
Exactly. My boy, as I like to call him, a.k.a. Captain Universe. A.k.a.
Hit him with the 4. Actually, hit him with the 40. 40 goals as a rookie.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? That guy, that's payday.
Yeah, Mr. Awesome Matthews. I think he's got to get at least $1 million more than Eichel. And then what do you pay Nylander? What do you pay Marner? So the Leafs might be in a little bit of a jam there.
I don't think I've ever seen a team with a bunch of 20-year-old talent in a win-now situation. The Leafs are extremely interesting. Keep a close eye.
Yeah. And lastly, we wanted to mention, before we get to it, the KHL suspends Carl Hartrick. 8 games for the huge hit. And of course, we will post this on Twitter at Jablam Hockey. But first, this is just a quick reaction from Connor and I. Oh no, there's ads. The bad timing. So we won't watch the video because it might take some time. But now I got crazy audio. But you have to see the video. We will send you the link, at least on our Twitter account.
Hashtag boom. Just leave it at that. Hashtag boom.
Now we're just going to be hashtagging boom all the time. That's going to be trending more than hashtag Jablam.
No, hashtag boom Jablam.
All right, time for this week's Team ISO. Of course, as you know, every week we Team ISO a specific team where we go into the blogospheres and we get a person that's more knowledgeable in this aspect. And this week we are Team ISOing the Buffalo Sabres. And this week's guest is Chad. Again, how do you pronounce your last name again, Chad?
It's Dedominicis, very Italian.
There you go. And we will obviously post that on our game notes, and we will tweet that out. And again, your Twitter account?
At CM Dedominicis, Dedominicis.
Perfect. And the M stands for?
Michael.
All right.
Middle name.
Chad Michael Dedominicis, roughly. All right. And you, I was looking at your profile, and you're like a little bit of everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
what's going? Like, tell us. What are you doing? Hockey everywhere?
Yeah, it's super busy. So I have my own podcast called Beyond the Blade for the Sabres.
Yeah, that's SB Nation, right?
Well, it wasn't. It is now. It wasn't before, but now
okay.
it is.
Perfect.
So then, yeah, the SB Nation thing is new. So I'm the new managing editor at SB Nation's Die by the Blade, the Sabres website. Thank you. So that's new. So that's a new thing this year. That'll make you more busy. And then also, I'm the lead writer for the Buffalo Sabres at the Hockey Writers.
Nice.
So that's where I have my media pass through them. And then also from time to time, when I find time, I am also a contributing writer at the Fourth Period for the Sabres. So
Wow.
pretty busy.
Cool. All right, let's get right into it. Buffalo Sabres, not too high predictions, obviously, in terms of what they're going to do this year. They're still in transition with the younger guys. So where do you expect them to end up, at least within the division of the Atlantic?
The thing about the Atlantic is it's a wide open division. So that's I guess that's the one thing that maybe works in the Sabres' benefit. Beyond that, it's really tough to say. And the defense looks improved. They brought in Beaulieu. They brought in Scandella, Victor Antipin from the KHL. He replaces guys like Franson and Kulikov, who weren't very good last year. Justin Falk will have to be in your lineup. Josh Georges looks like he'll be in the press box now and not in the lineup anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a younger, quicker defense, which I guess fits Bill Housley's system, which is good.
Nice.
And then it all depends on, you're getting Jack Eichel for 82 games now, hopefully, knock on wood. And then, you got some improvements to your bottom six or some depth scoring with Pouliot and Pominville. So it's a lot of question marks, though. You don't know how good that D is going to be. You don't know what kind of secondary scoring you're definitely going to get. And you don't know how health-wise, how things go. Oposo and O'Reilly usually miss time during the season. And
Yeah.
the goaltending is another question mark, too. Robin Leonard, I thought, was all right last year. If he has that similar type of season with a better defense, I think they'll be fine. But there's also times where he's kind of faulted. So it's a lot of question marks. On one hand, they could be the seventh team in the division. I don't think they're worse than Detroit. I don't think many teams in hockey are worse than Detroit. And the other side of the coin, if things go right, they could be in that 3-4 spot. You just don't know how open that division is.
So then you mentioned a few of the names. Apparently a lot of changes on the back end, nothing to the main core.
Right.
The interesting trade that happened in the offseason was kind of interesting. Ennis, Foligno to the Wild, and you guys get back Pominville, and of course Scandella. What did you think about the trade? And then where do you think some of these guys fit in? Like Scandella, does he improve the back end?
Yeah, absolutely. Going out, Ennis, he hasn't been the same player he's been in the last 2 years. He's been like a 9-10 point player, if that. He struggled under Bilesma. He had those concussion issues the last few years and injuries in general, that really put him behind the 8 ball and just hasn't been the same player. We'll see if he can last, I guess, in the bigger, tougher Western Conference, but I don't know how that'll go. And Foligno, he was last year probably his best year that he had with the Sabres, at least consistency-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll miss him a little bit, but I don't know. He's a replaceable player. He's a bottom six forward. They brought in Jordan Nolan recently that can kind of play that style. They have Pouliot, who's a bigger body, that can play that style. And if you ask me, honestly, I think the Sabres got the two best players in that trade, Scandella and Pominville. Pominville's not the same guy that he was, but you put him on Jack Eichel's wing, where it looks like he could start. He just has to find the holes, and Jack's going to find them. And he knows how to put the puck away. And Scandell's going to get that opportunity to play top 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, top 4 minutes. We'll see how his hip is. He might not start the year in the top 4. He might start they might control his minutes throughout the season. He played 0 preseason games and practiced limited. So we'll see how things go starting Thursday. But, yeah, I think Scandell's going to be a huge improvement. And the talk right now is that he'll be Ristolainen's partner. A guy who's looked for that partner his entire career. He skated with Josh Georges and Cody Franson and a whole bunch of nobodies, really. And maybe for him to get a partner decent as that, that'll be a lot of help for him.
Wait, hold on. You're calling Cody Franson a no-namer? What? Don't call my boy a no-namer.
No, I think Cody Franson is highly... I don't want to say highly. I think he's a pretty overrated player. I think he's very limited in today's NHL. He doesn't have the foot speed.
Yeah.
He'll make that nice play, make that nice pass, but there's too many times he just gets stepped around defensively. And
yeah,
he's a decent 6'7" on a deep defense.
Yeah.
But he was playing top 4 minutes last year, and that's not his role at all.
Okay, cool. And then let's go with the superstar, Eichel. What do you think is going to improve in his game this season, and where do you think he'll end up in terms of the top 20 players?
Well, he has a new 8-year, $80 million contract.
Yes.
Today, so that's kind of nice to have that in his back pocket and have that out of the way. In general, I think he's in for a big year. It kind of depends, I guess. What does he get with Evander Kane on his one wing? What does he get with Palmenville on the other wing? Does Sam Reinhart eventually make his way back to the wing instead of at center where he is now? But, I mean, the guy was a point-per-game player last year when he was healthy and played. A lot of people forget that. I think he got really overlooked and really undervalued last year because if he would have played 82 games, he would have been one of the top scorers in the league. And if he could play that same style this year with perhaps better line mates, and I mean, he really wasn't. He came back in November, but he was not himself until February. And if you can get a motivated player like he is, I mean, it's crazy. He's motivated. He wants to win. I mean, it came out today that he took less money in his contract. His agents advised him to play the entire season and get more money next year. He said no. He wanted to get it done, and he wanted to give the Sabres room to make some more additions so they could win. So that's a guy who's motivated and wants to win, and he's going to have this C slapped on him probably the next 24 to 48 hours here. So that's pretty exciting for the Sabres franchise.
Yeah, he'll have a good season. Connor, you want to talk about some prospects?
Yeah, from the prospect side, you were talking a lot about your defensive core, and I've been really interested in one player. Pardon me, Brandon Gooley. Now, he was a suitcase last year, not a basket case, within the organization, obviously starting in Buffalo, going to Rochester, going back to the WHL in Prince George, and then getting traded to Prince Albert, and he was all over the place, and a lot of people thought that slowed down his game. Where do you see him fitting in the Sabres organization this season?
This year, I think he'll spend a lot of time in Rochester, and that's not a bad thing. There was an outside chance he could have made the team this year out of camp. He didn't. I personally am a huge fan of Gooley. I think the kid is big. He's an exceptional skater, and that fits well into what Housley wants to do. He jumps in the play offensively. He's not afraid to do that. We saw it in the preseason. But I don't think he has enough pro experience yet, and I think he'll get that in Rochester. He's the kind of guy where I said that he may play half the season in Rochester, but when he gets up here for the first time, when he gets to Buffalo, he's probably not going back. And I think once he gets a couple months of pro experience under his belt, maybe puts a little more bulk on his frame. Because he's much different than he was as an 18-year-old 2 years ago. He's a lot bigger than he was, which is expected, but it's still good to see. But once he gets that professional experience, I think he's going to be one of and easily, in my opinion, a top pair player on this team. And I think, honestly, he's potentially one of the better defensemen in the league. I think he's just really – nobody knows about him now. But I tell anybody who listens to me that get ready for this kid to explode in the scene eventually.
Now, on the offensive side, here in Toronto, we get a lot of talk about one William Nylander. Well, down in Buffalo, you guys have another Nylander, Alexander, a couple of years younger. How far away do you think we'll get an Atlantic battle between the Nylanders? How far in the future would that come?
I think Alex would have made the team this year if he didn't get hurt in the Prospects Challenge, to be honest. He didn't participate all training camp. He didn't practice once. He didn't play one preseason game. So he's healthy enough to be sent down today. We'll see if he does play on Friday in the Ameryk's first game in the AHL. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't, but probably the game after that. But he's another guy that I think, once he gets the opportunity to get up here, he added a lot of bulk to his frame, and I mean a lot. He kind of did the Alex Nylander thing, where the Will Nylander thing in his first year. He came in, he was a little bit light, and then he went back in the summer and put some bulk on and came back, had a huge year last year. And Alex did that same kind of thing. I mean, he added about 20, 25 pounds to his frame, and he didn't lose any speed. And now he's not knocked out the puck so easily, and you put that all together. He has the NHL skill, the NHL skating, the NHL shot, the NHL hands. He just needed to add that bulk, and now he has that. And I think he'll probably be in Rochester for a month or so, depending on injuries, and I think he'll be up to Buffalo, and I'm pretty excited for what he can bring.
Well, I know it's not fair to compare brothers, and it's a hard thing to do, but it's fun in every aspect of life, especially in hockey. You may have a bit of a biased opinion, but at their end of their careers, which Nylander do you see finishing with more points?
Willie Nylander will finish with more points, but I'll say this, Willie Nylander will not finish his career in Toronto.
Boom, that's a hot take, Peter.
Ouch, that hits me right in my Maple Leaf chest or heart.
I think he'll be traded within the next 2 years for a defenseman.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't make the move for a top 4 defenseman. And yeah, with cap hits and now with Eichel getting that contract, Matthews is going to probably expect a little bit higher.
And Marner.
And then Marner and Nylander will move up that cap.
Can't pay them all, so that's where I was going with that.
Exactly. So, all right. It's a good roundup. I did want to mention you mistaked and said Willie instead of Alex. Connor and I were texting earlier. He did the same thing and said the other name. It was even funnier.
They look the exact same. I mean, without equipment, they actually have the same haircut and look the exact same.
My favorite was last year when I was watching one of the Leafs games, and I think it was Paul Romaniuk when Willie scored the goal. He's like, "What a great goal by Michael Nylander." What? He's back? He's like 47 now.
The guy's Jagr. The guy's apparently Jaromir Jagr.
Jagr's still playing.
I continue to expect everybody and mixing up all of their names all the time, especially throughout their career. All right, that's it for Team ISO this week. Thank you, Chad, for coming on the show, and we will, again, put that on our website, and we will tweet out your Twitter handle.
Thanks, guys. A lot of fun anytime.
All right, bye. All right, Connor, time to give everybody what they want, our NHL season Eastern predictions. Of course, remember, go to jablamhockey.com, check out our blog, and we will name all our stuff, which we will only shorten and give you bits of each team. But we will, on our blog, it's our top prospects, our top player picks, and of course, our final predictions for each team. And again, players to step up and step down per team. All right, let's start in the Metropolitan. Who do you have at the bottom? Because you know me, I like to start from the bottom. What am I, Drake?
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Exactly. Great reference, as always. I have the Carolina Hurricanes at the bottom of my Metropolitan division. A lot of people have them projected to finish a little higher. And it's not a knock on Carolina so much as I think the Metro is the strongest division in the league. But where Carolina falls short for me is leadership. I don't think that, obviously they don't have a captain. They have a core of a lot of young players or players that spend a lot of time on injured reserve, like a Jeff Skinner or a Justin Folk. So I just don't see the leadership, and I don't like their goaltending. I don't think Eddie Lack has the capability to be an NHL number one. And Scott Darling, all those statistics that he put up in Chicago, well, that was with the best defensive core probably in the league over the past 3 seasons. Guys like Keith, Hjalmarsson. Mm-hmm. You had TVR back there. You had Seabrook back there. Oduya was in and out over the last 5 years. So I really, really think that Scott Darling, he's my step down player. I think he's going to take a big step backward and digress, and the Carolina Hurricanes will follow their goaltenders down.
All right, and that's one of the reasons why I thought I moved up Carolina all the way up to the 4 spot. I think they're going to improve a lot. I actually think Darling's really going to help the Canes. Their defense looks good. They're young. I think they're very mobile. I think they're going to help the team. Darling's going to be a good goalie, and I think he's going to help them. My player, as a top player for the Canes, which might surprise people, is Justin Falk. I think he's very underrated, and he's one of the studs. If you look at Hannafin, Pesci, the list goes on. They have a very good back end and a lot of good young forwards as well. But he is the most valuable to this team, I think. He eats up a lot of minutes, and 17 goals, I believe, he had last year.
In an injury-shortened season. But there's my issue with Justin Falk, is that When was the last time he played a full season? And not over the last 3 years. He hasn't played a full season the last 3 years. So as I like Justin Falk, I think he has all the capabilities of being a number one defenseman. We've clearly seen that. He is the number one defenseman in Carolina. And I actually think he'll be the next guy to wear a C down in Carolina. But when we talk about the best player, I actually go with another guy that's very injury prone is Jeff Skinner. I think he's just pound for pound the most talented player on this team. He scored 37 goals last year. Yeah, you can look that up. When you think Jeff Skinner, you think concussions. It's really sad.
I think figure skater, but go on.
Yeah, it's very sad that he's got that he's known as that guy, as the concussion guy, at least in this generation of hockey.
Yeah.
But he still put up 37 goals last year, and he can still put the puck in the net. He's quick. He's a dynamic skater, so I think he's their most talented player.
All right, let's move on next. My 8 team at the bottom are the Flyers. Where did you have the Flyers?
I had the Flyers in 7th, so
okay.
I think we can agree the Flyers are going to have a tough season.
Yeah. I know we were talking beforehand with Nolan Patrick. I think he's still their top prospect. A lot of people don't think he's in that echelon of the Eichels and Matthews and everything. Yeah, he probably isn't. But he might be a good all-around player. He already showed in the preseason for the Flyer fans. He can maybe fight for them. He's shown he wants to be a part of this organization who are a little bit more rambunctious and physical. I think he's a little bit more of a two-way complete player. So I still feel he's still going to be pretty good for them as that type of player down the road. So I think he's a good prospect for them.
I completely agree with you. I have Nolan Patrick as my number one prospect on the Flyers as well, but for a different reason. I actually do think he has the talent to break into that elite goal-scoring group. What really holds me back about him is he's so injury-prone. The hernias, the knees, he's always hurt. Last year, playing just 33 games, but in those 33 games with the Wheat Kings, he put up 46 points. So he can score, he just has to be healthy.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
All right, my team 7, because you had Philadelphia, are the New York Islanders. I can't see too much growth out of the Islanders. For me, I will talk about, again, their best player. It's John Tavares. Let's just go quickly into the future of the Islanders, because where do you have them?
I have them at number 6, so I have them just one step up. I personally think that the Islanders have a lot of talent. They got the young guys, and they're finally starting to build a core around that team. The problem is with John Tavares, he spent his entire career there with just no weapons around him, no one to play with. Well, now they got Jordan Eberle. They got, Jordan, goodness.
It's all right.
Brazel, sorry, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
41 games played last season. I think he's going to be a huge asset as a second-line centerman, learning under John Tavares. 41 games played last year, 79 points. So I think they have the core, they're building it, but is it too little too late if John Tavares wants to move on?
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe it's time for him to jump ship, because I still don't see a lot of the younger pieces now being important and big for the Islanders to take that leap to become a true contender. Who'd you have next?
Well, my number 5 is the New Jersey Devils. I have them a little higher than last year, obviously. They scored the first overall pick that turned into Nico Hischier, and wow, can that kid play. From Switzerland, I mean, selected first overall in Chicago, 86 points in 57 games out in the queue for Halifax. I think this kid is going to be an absolute stud in the NHL. I think he's going to put up some big points. He doesn't have to play first-line minutes because they brought in Marcus Johansson. They have Adam Henrique still on the squad, so I think he's going to develop nicely there.
Yeah, I had New Jersey in my 6th spot. That's where I put them, and I said same thing, top prospect. He looks great. He's going to be a great addition to the team, but their top player is still Taylor Hall. I still think he's a top player in the NHL, and he's also my pick to step up. I believe he was injured. He missed a lot of games last year, but with a few of the additions, the offense might finally start to click. It wasn't clicking at all with any of the wingers that he had last year. So I'm feeling that they might finally start to click. He's been there. It's been past a year now. The transition of being with a totally new team after you've been with another organization like these guys for a few years, now it'll start to happen. Who do you have in the next spot?
Well, moving up, I have, my number 4 pick, actually, because they were my number 5. I have the Washington Capitals. Yes, they won the President's Trophy last year, but they have been picked apart. They are not the same squad that they were last year at all. A player that I actually really am looking forward to seeing is how Devontae Smith-Pelly steps up in this situation. I think he's actually going to step up in a big way. He was a great player when he had his opportunity 2 years ago in New Jersey, but last year for the Devils, had some injury trouble. 53 games, just 9 points. So he's my step-up player, probably because if you play 53 games in the NHL, you should get 9 points, especially on the right wing, which is where he fits in.
My two things I want to mention about the Capitals is my top prospect. I like Jakub Vrana. I think he might actually play at least top 9, but maybe even top 6. If he plays with Kuznetsov, if he plays with Backstrom, he's going to put up points. He's very skilled, so he'll be good there, and he might put up a lot of points in his first rookie season. But then I do want to mention my hot take. My step down could be Braden Holtby. A lot of changes on this team. The team won't be as like we both picked, and I did too, number 4 for Washington. I expect them to slip a bit. And another is because they've lost Johansson.
Shattenkirk's moved.
And all the defense. Shattenkirk, Alsner. So there's a lot of changes, and that's going to give less wins for Holtby, but even might hurt his other numbers because his defense isn't as well-rounded. Nate Schmidt stepped up for them in the playoffs. They don't have him either. So a lot of changes on their team, especially on their defensive team. All right, your team 3.
Team 3, the New York Rangers. I really like the Rangers this year, but the reason I have them at number 3, the Metro is so deep. When you look at the Rangers, it all starts from the crease. Henrik Lundqvist, he has everything in his trophy case. He's got a gold medal. He's got Olympic gold medal, that is. He's got a world championship. He's got a Vezina. He is missing that Stanley Cup, and he's running out of time. I feel like this is a good year. This is a good push. We just talked about Shattenkirk. He's moved into New York. They got a great defensive core there again. I think that if Hank can stay sturdy and solid, they should have a good chance at making the run for the Cup, but I don't think they're at that peak at the top of the Metro.
I still think they got to go for it now. I have them in the 2nd spot. I still think they're going to be a decent season team, so they'll still have a decent spot in the division. I feel that Lundqvist, it's his time now, rather than later.
Now or never.
Exactly. And the team they have is still, the nucleus is pretty good. They have good core leadership, experience. Nash, Zuccarello, and the rest of them. And again, I picked Lundqvist as their top player because he is their top player. Did you see some of those amazing saves he made in the playoffs?
It's the only reason why they made it out of that first round.
Yeah, he stole the first round for them, and he almost could have stolen the second round against the Senators, right? So he's great. And then I think another player to further step up, and I think he did last year, is Mika Zibanejad. I think there's still more room for him to grow. The trade for him to go to the Rangers really helped him, let him more loose, and he might have, wasn't as healthy, I think, in the playoffs, but I think he can take it to that level for himself and for the Rangers.
Well, not only that, Mika Zibanejad, is also going to be playing as their first-line centerman.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a lot of ice time and a lot of good looks. Alain Vigneault wants a lot out of him, and we'll see if he can deliver, but I agree with you. I think he will be able to.
And then Stepan's gone, so then there's Kevin Hayes. I think Kevin Hayes might get a little more ice time and might produce even more for them. He's going to fill in that Stepan role. All right. My team 3, though, was the Columbus Blue Jackets. Where did you have them?
Number 2.
You had them number 2. All right. I got a lot of things to say about the Blue Jackets, but I'll go straight with Seth Jones. He's my player to step up. We saw how vital and how amazingly skilled he was last year for the team with Werenski. Great 1-2 punch on the blue line. But he had such a great season in there, but he has more room to grow, that's for sure. I think now, again, he's going to be way more comfortable in his surroundings in Columbus. And even Boone Jenner, I think he's going to rebound too. He's another guy I thought maybe could step up as well compared to his bad season he had last year.
Yeah, well, my step-up player is actually Alexander Wenberg. It's now you say, well, how can he step up anymore? He had 59 points in 79 games. But his production every single year he's been in the league has actually gone up 20 points. Now, while I don't see him breaking over a point per game mark, I think he will improve again and just keep going and improving and building as a solid centerman. And then for me, when you look at Columbus, you look at Sergei Bobrovsky. A .931 save percentage last year, won the Vezina, a .206 goals against average, and he was a starter. This guy was lights out. I think if he can ride and play that well again, this Blue Jackets team could really do some damage, so look out for them.
Yeah, Bobrovsky, again, my top player pick for the Blue Jackets, bar none, for sure him. I don't know if he can repeat what he did last year. It was just outstanding the way he played last year. And he won the Vezina a couple years ago, and the season after that wasn't as good. So I'm kind of expecting him to slightly slip, but he'll still be.
But I feel like he will be more consistent. Well, obviously, being the only goaltender in the NHL with above a .930 save percentage as a starter, that's near impossible. But I think he will be consistent in the high 20s because John Tortorella has really meshed this team together quite nicely. When he got rid of Ryan Johansson after sitting him, everything kind of just started to click when they got Seth Jones, like you mentioned earlier. So I think the Blue Jackets with Bobrovsky and net, with the leadership of Tortorella, I think they'll be all right.
Do you like Tortorella?
I like his off-ice antics. Mm-hmm. If he was my coach, I'd ask for a trade.
I've always been a fan, and again, you're more, built in playing hockey and growing up playing it and everything with school and everything. For myself, as a fan of hockey since I was a little kid, I like the way he's kind of a little bit more out there, a little bit, not as reserved, or maybe sometimes when he's like no comment, but he lets it be known. I don't feel he throws his players under the bus. He doesn't really do that, but he will say specifically certain things that might not be good for the team.
Well, if your phone rings in a press conference,
yeah,
you're under the bus. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So he rubs guys the wrong way. I think he's grown a lot from that, and a lot of people didn't like him when he was in Vancouver and stuff. But I still think he's a great coach. And when you get down to it, maybe he's a little more old school, but he's done well with a lot of different teams, and he's showing it again in Columbus.
Won a cup in Tampa Bay, won the Jack Adams, won Coach of the Year last year. So he must be doing something right.
Yeah. All right, and then our number one, I think we both picked it. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins. What do you want to talk about them?
Well, I think let's step up. And now when we use the word step up, we usually go from a player that needs to improve. Well, my step up actually isn't a player that needs to improve. It all starts in the crease with Matt Murray. I don't think he needs to step up and improve. I think he needs to step up and embrace the role. He's the clear-cut number one goaltender for the first time in his career. Obviously, he was injured last year, so Fleury got the start this season. Fleury's gone. This is Matt Murray's show now. He's coming off an excellent playoffs where he posted a 7-3 record. Mm-hmm. He had a save percentage of .937 and a goals against average under 2. If he can carry that momentum into this season, he's already got 2 Stanley Cups. Mm-hmm. Maybe a third? Is that too bold?
It's crazy. I think that if Matt Murray can pull off another amazing year, win the cup, I think he should retire. Just retire. Retire at the age of whatever he is, 23 now. You've been there, done it all. You've won a cup every single year you were in the NHL. Just move on and do something amazing for the rest of your life. Because it won't get any better.
It's funny that you would say that, because that's my exact same argument for Sidney Crosby. If Sidney Crosby captains the Penguins to a 3-peat and a 4th Stanley Cup, does he not enter the GOAT conversation?
Oh, I think he's already in that conversation, because you can't compare eras. There is the Gordie Howes, there's the Wayne Gretzkys, the Mario Lemieux, and in goaltending, we got Brodeur, Waugh. You can't compare eras. I hate when people kind of try to do that. It's a totally different era. Crosby owns this era.
Oh, and not only that, remember, when you go back 20 years from now and look back at his numbers, you could be like, oh, those aren't as high. He missed countless games, seasons, because of concussions.
Yeah.
And he still was able to captain his team to back-to-back Stanley Cups in the Metropolitan Division, and they had to go through the Capitals yet again. Alexander Ovechkin, they always had that rivalry, and he beats them every time. Crosby, man, if he gets this cup, retire, save your head, and just lay on a beach somewhere and enjoy life.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Penguins have a lot to work with there. They've got some great players. Of course, our top player is Crosby. You mentioned Murray to step up a little bit, and I think we both have as our top prospect maybe a guy right over his shoulder, and that's Tristan Jarry.
Well, Tristan Jarry, yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. Last year in the AHL, he posted 28 wins. Now, okay, AHL Pittsburgh, that's pretty good. Get this. In those wins and throughout the season, his statistics were even better. He had a 2.15 goals against average and a 925 save percentage in the AHL. And he's only 1 year younger than Murray. So, no, I don't think he'll take the reins from Murray. And Niemi, he's your solid backup for this year. Look at that piece of trade bait, though. Doesn't that look nice entering the trade deadline? You could trade Niemi for if someone's injured for just a small piece, or let him develop, or let Jarry develop even more and get even better, and trade him for something big down the line. I think he's the most valuable asset to this team.
Wow, that's good news. Another hot take for me is my player to step up. I think it's Evgeny Malkin. I just feel that he will enter maybe at least top 5 in points this year. He could be top 3, maybe higher. I really feel that this could be another year where Malkin shows again and again. I don't know why he's so underrated. People don't consider him there. He's behind Crosby. That's what the issue is, because he's been there and done that. He wasn't named the top 100 for the NHL players when they were named. I don't know why again, but he will show you again how good he is this season, and I think he's going to be top 5 this year in points.
Well, I know you like to start from the bottom. We're done the Metro.
Yes.
Over to the Atlantic. Bottom team. Who you got?
Detroit Red Wings. They're in rebuild phase. Brand new arena. I think that kind of helps them change the topic off the players. So,
Well, one of the things about the Red Wings is when your leading goal scorer and your leading scorer is 36 years old and your captain, and not only that, he outscored the next closest guy to him by 20 points, and he didn't play a full season, you're in trouble. Yeah. Henrik Zetterberg cannot do it all. Yes, he's a legend. Everyone in Detroit will remember Zetterberg, but they need to help him out. Detroit's garbage.
Yeah.
But I actually have them at my number 7 because there's one team that I have even less confidence in, and that's the Buffalo Sabres.
All right. Before you get to the Sabres, I said the same thing. Zetterberg is their top player, and I feel he's also my player to step down, just because he's getting older and he's not getting enough support. So I think he's down there. And you have Sabres. Tell us why.
Well, I have the Sabres just because I don't trust their goaltending. Yes, Leonard had a 920 save percentage last year, but when you have 100 shots a game, a 920 save percentage, well, you're still letting in 8 goals. So it's not even his fault. It's just the team needs to get more comfortable defensively. I don't think they have the defensive defenseman pieces to protect him. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have the best goal scoring. Obviously, Jack Eichel can put the puck in the net, but beyond that first line, there isn't much depth there. Mm-hmm. So I really don't like the Sabres' chances at all.
Yeah, I have them in the one spot just above Detroit. We've already mentioned in our Team Ice, so my top prospect is Nylander. My top player is Jack Eichel. But again, my top player to step down is Matt Moulson. He hasn't been as good as he used to be a few years down the road ago, and he's going to fall even more again, they don't have that much depth, so he's going to fall. Who's your 16?
My number 6 is the Boston Bruins. There isn't really much the Bruins can do. As Tuukka Rask goes, as go the Bruins. That's the way things have been. But last year, Tuukka Rask posted a career-high 37 wins, and the Bruins still didn't make the playoffs. So what more do you want from your goaltending? They need to find a way to put the puck in the net. Zdeno Chara has lost a step. He made up for it in the previous years by getting that reach and being able to poke the puck away, but now everyone in the East is too fast. They're moving around them. I don't see Boston getting much success this year.
Yeah. Rask is an important piece for them, but yeah, he can't will this team to get into the playoffs or get them far enough. They need more players. They've got McAvoy. He's going to be good for them this year. But again, another hot take for me, and my favorite player on the Bruins is Brad Marchand. I just love this guy. Little ball of hate. People love to hate him. I love to love him.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, we'll let that one slide.
So again, he's already shown that he could be a top player in the NHL. showed in the World Cup of Hockey. I think he should have got the MVP in the World Cup of Hockey. He will show again this season. He's still a top player for the Bruins. Yeah, I think I expect Pastrnak take another level this year, but I'm still in love with Brad Marchand.
Well, exactly. I have Pastrnak as my step-up player. I think he's their most talented forward. I think when he has the puck, he is their best player with the puck. Obviously, Marchand was over a point per game last year. But let Marchand get into those corners and do what he does. If Pastrnak can open up some nice shooting lanes and get that puck in the net like we've seen him do last year and really step in and be their marquee forward, then it will open up things even more for Marchand, and it'll just work out in spades on offense for the Bruins.
So we both had Boston in 6th spot. Who do you have in the 5th spot?
It's the Florida Panthers. I like their defense, but where it all falls short for me is their goaltending. Last year, Roberto Luongo started the year as the starter. James Reimer came in, and then they ended up splitting right down the middle. They actually both started 39 games apiece, and Reimer's numbers were literally a percentile better than Luongo. So unless one of those two guys really wants to step up, and Bobby Lou's age, it's really becoming a factor, so it's probably going to have to be Reimer. The Panthers, I don't see them having much success. Yes, I think Barkov, if he's fully healthy, can have a very effective season, but it all starts in the back end, and I don't see them stopping many pucks or winning many games.
Yeah, they still have a lot of holes they need to fill, especially with Marchessault is gone, Riley's gone, both to Vegas. Few small changes there, and they're in a peculiar spot, especially with the injuries they had last year. So I'm thinking they might go a little bit better. I have them in the same spot there. But I do want to talk about Alexander Barkov. I think he will step up as long as he is healthy. Him and Huberdeau will have outstanding seasons. They should be at least, top 25 in the NHL. They're going to be great. I love Ekblad. I want to talk more about him, but I did want to mention for sure Barkov and Huberdeau are going to step up huge.
Well, it's just the importance that Barkov is to this team. He was second on the team in points, third in goals, and third in power play points, and he played just 61 games. So Barkov is obviously the huge key, but it's funny you mentioned Ekblad because I have him as my best player. Obviously, he had injury problems too. Only played 68 games, but he scored 10 goals in 68 games. He broke the 10-goal mark as a defenseman. He's still so young. Obviously, he made it to the All-Star game as a rookie. Only 18 years old playing in the All-Star game. So I think the sky is the limit for Aaron Ekblad.
All right. My team 4 is the Ottawa Senators. As go the Senators. As go Carlson. Well, no. Reverse that. As go Carlson. As goes the Senators. I love watching Carlson skate. And the best part about watching his game, if you check out, is those long, beautiful stretch passes that he can needle through players. It's just outstanding. He is the most vital to his team than any other, way more than McDavid or Crosby in my mind. He is a top player and one of the best in the NHL.
Exactly. Without Erik Karlsson, the Ottawa Senators are nothing. I think that because of him being out for the first couple months of the season, by the way, he was supposed to be out till Christmas. This guy is a superhuman. He will do anything to get on the ice for his team. But because he is out, I think a guy that's going to take a huge step down, it's got to be Craig Anderson. Obviously, he had a very emotional campaign last year. Very sad news about his wife. I think he fed off of that. I think things are going to settle down a little bit more. And without having Mathot back there, without having Karlsson, without having defensemen that he's used to, it's going to be a really tough start for the Senators, which is why I have them in 4th as well.
All right, then I picked my Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, they might be even better than this, but I'll settle with 3rd in the division. Number 1, top player. This guy, like we already mentioned, 40 goals in his rookie season. I'm fully expecting him to improve on that this season. And where do you think Matthews will end up at roughly in points this year?
Roughly in points, I'd say right around that 70-point mark. I think his assists are going to go way up. I think he's going to be just short of 40 goals this year because that's going to be really tough to repeat.
Yeah. I'm still thinking he'll go over 70. I think roughly about 75 he'll end up. Goals might slip, might not be able to hit 40 again. All right, and then your number 2.
My number 2 is the Montreal Canadiens, simply because they have Carey Price. He's the best goaltender in the world. He's proved that. He's got he posted 37 wins last year, a .923 save percentage, and now Shea Weber and that defenseman, the defensive core of Emelin, Jordy Ben, they're going to clear a lot of rebounds out of the way. They're all meshing together. They're more comfortable entering this season than they were last year. So I think Carey Price's numbers might actually even improve. But the problem is with the Canadiens putting the puck in the net.
Yeah, of course, their top player is Carey Price. He's just outstanding. I think he should be, again, in the Vezina contention. He should be every year. He's the reason they win most of their games. They need more scoring. But I'm expecting my boy, Alex Galchenyuk, to step up for the Canadiens. He just seems like he's on the verge to take that next level. I expected it maybe even 2 years ago. He never did. He hasn't done that in the playoffs yet. But I think maybe if he plays a little bit more with Duran, that's another addition for them. They might finally get more offense out of Galchenyuk.
Well, if he can start clicking with Duran or Pacioretty, it would be great for their team. It's funny that you actually mentioned that. Another one, only 61 games played last year, 44 points. I couldn't agree more. Step-up player, Alex Galchenyuk.
All right, that was my number 2. And then my number 1 is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Where did you have Tampa Bay?
I actually have Tampa Bay at number 3. We did a little swap. I have the Maple Leafs coming in at number 1 just because I like the young exuberance, and I think they have the goaltending to get it done.
Mm-hmm. So my number 1, your number 3 then was Tampa Bay. Gotta say their top prospect is, for me, Mikhail Sergachev. The huge trade. Duran from the Habs goes there, and then Tampa Bay gets Sergachev just like that. Maybe they couldn't be able to afford Duran, give him the ice time that he wants. And, now they have Sergachev. He has so many possibilities of being a star stud in the NHL, and now Tampa Bay has him. It looks like has offensive potential and being a complete player.
Well, Sergachev, the best thing about this trade is he's going to have the opportunity to play with Victor Hedman and learn under Victor Hedman, a player similar in stature, similar in skill. I couldn't agree with you more. I think he's going to be great. The reason I actually had Tampa Bay at number 3, if you're wondering, is because I don't trust Andrei Vasilevsky.
All right, time to bring back some old segments that we had last season. First off, the friendly bet. Connor, before we get into the next segment, our little quick segue. Who will win Saturday's game? Rangers at Maple Leafs, the home opener. Your pick is?
I'm going to take the Rangers just to make you look silly wearing that Leafs jersey. No, in all seriousness, though, since 2010, the Rangers have beat the Leafs 19 times, the Leafs just beating them 8 times. So I really think that the favors in New York, obviously Toronto's going to be bumping. It's going to be a tough place to go in and win, but if any team can do it, Henrik Lundqvist can hold the fort, and the Leafs will have some struggles.
It's my homer pick. They're at home. It's the first game of the season at home, so I'm going to go with the Maple Leafs. Next week, we will talk about how we bet on and maybe talk about what happens when you lose the bet. All right, let's go to Saturday's picks now. We will tweet out our Saturday's picks on roughly Friday night, right before Saturday. But here's a few of our picks. Of course, our number 1, you going Rangers. I'm going Leafs. Another game you want to talk about?
Well, don't know if you can see this nice looking Edmonton Oilers jersey. They are going into Vancouver, and I just don't think the Canucks have the skill, speed, or goaltending to stop the Oilers' attack. And then on the other end of the ice, I think Cam Talbot's just too good for any of the goal scorers on Vancouver. Maybe a hot Brock Besser might get one by him. But other than that, I think the Oilers might actually go into Vancouver and spank them.
Yeah, and the pick that I have is Washington at home against the Habs. I'm going to go with the Capitals. They just have way too many offensive weapons to be able to be held up against maybe just Carey Price. So it's, again, home game, Capitals, I'm going with them.
Well, I'm going to take another home team back out in the Western Conference. This is a great matchup. Chicago hosting Columbus. Columbus, obviously, Sergei Bobrovsky, Artemi Panarin's homecoming back to Chicago. He's going to have to play against his mentor, Patty Kane. But I think it's the mentor. He's going to take his student to school. And I think Kane's going to not only score a goal, possibly a multiple point night. I don't think goaltending is going to be much of a factor in this one. Yes, Sergei Bobrovsky is amazing. Yes, Corey Crawford is one of the bubble elite goaltenders in the league, but I'm expecting a high-scoring affair in Chicago on Saturday night.
It's going to be an exciting game for sure because there's so many storylines going. There's such great teams now, especially the way Columbus played last year. And then, of course, the big trade, Panarin, Ladd. A lot of storylines. Sod, Ladd. Ladd's old school. He's on the island. Sorry. But there's just so many storylines going in the matchup. That has to be the most profiled game going in on first Saturday in hockey.
Well, I think it's got to be. I think it's the best matchup as far as teams finished last season. They both finished at the top of their divisions or right around the top in Columbus's sake. And then the Kane versus Panarin matchup. You have Bobrovsky versus Crawford. Yep. You have Wenberg versus Taves in the middle of the ice. It's just so intriguing. So much juice in that matchup. I'm going to be watching it. I can't wait.
Yeah, you have veteran studs, Keith, Seberg. You have solid young studs in Seth Jones and Werenski. Great. All right, my last pick is the Ducks at home to beat the Flyers. I really have the Flyers, way down there, and I expect the Ducks to still have a pretty good season. So it should be a solid, easy win for the Ducks. Just too many weapons, and they are good at grinding out wins during the regular season.
I'm gonna put at least 3 goals in favor of the Ducks on that game. I think that's got to be the spread for that because I think the Ducks are gonna pump them.
Yeah. So again, we will tweet that out at Jablam Hockey Friday. And that's it for this week's episode. Again, next episode we'll have season award predictions. So we're basically going to name our selections for the Hart, for the Rocket, for the Calder, for the Vezina, and so on. We'll do another Team ISO, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about our Maple Leafs. Again, tweet us at Jablam Hockey. Go on our website at jablamhockey.com and use the hashtags Jablam, JHockey, Jablam Hockey. See you next week.